you convey that enthusiasm to other people. So today we're going to have a really interesting topic. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I'll be sharing a personal story with you when I go through a lot of the scientific stuff. But personal accountability is something to me that's very, very important. It's one of those things that nobody can do for you. And there is no magic pill for accountability. Like Krista said, we can have the best products in the world, which we do. But if you don't take them, then you don't get the benefit of that. So this is a constant challenge, not only with our products, but with a lot of aspects of lifestyle and wellness. Wellness in a lot of cases is a choice. I mean, you think about it, when you walk through a shopping mall, and back in the days when we walked through shopping malls, but we'll get back to that again. But just picture back years ago when we used to walk through shopping malls and you'd see thousands of people, and you'd always run into people that were probably in their 80s or 90s that looked like they're in their 40s or 50s. And at the same time, you'd see people that are in their 20s that look like hell, and they look like they're probably like 70. And a lot of that has to do with personal choices. It has a lot to do with genetics, which that's something you really can't control. But nutrition and personal choices can compensate for even some of the worst genetics. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to jump into, if I can figure this out, I'm going to share this screen presentation with you. Okay, so. All right. So, like I mentioned on the call last week and probably the week before, pretty much every presentation I do, I start off with Dr. Wentz's vision, because you really have to go back to, for people particularly that are new to USANA, you have to understand where the whole foundation, what's the keystone in the foundation of this great organization that we've got. And that would be this visionary scientist named Dr. Wentz. Now, he's not a businessman. He turned out to be a very good businessman, but his whole goal was solving problems and applying science to solve problems. He's an applied scientist, just like me. And that's what we do, is we try and take scientific research and solve people's problems for them. And his particular area of research was, how many people can we help with their health and wellness using things that are safe and natural and affordable for people to take? And so I always refer to this because this is the guiding thing that I've always believed in, even before I came to USANA. And it's the foundation, and this is something that we'll always live by, is meeting the genuine needs of our customers. We're not out there to push stuff on you that you don't really need. We don't sell perfume, we don't sell candles, we don't sell shoe polish, jewelry. We sell nutritional supplements that have a specific purpose to them. And this is something that people need, and millions of people around the world have already seen the benefit of USANA's products every single day. So let's talk about personal accountability. This is an interesting concept. Accountability is something you can't delegate. Okay, it's something that it's you. It's all you. Okay, there's a lot of people in this world that don't take responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault if something goes wrong. But when it comes to health, a lot of this is something that you have to take your own accountability for. It's true. It's nice that we've got hospitals and we've got insurance and we've got all this stuff if tragedy hits. But taking care of yourself and keeping well for as long as you can so you don't need that stuff is really your personal responsibility, and you have to hold yourself accountable for the results. So, okay, so USANA, our main business is providing the highest quality nutritional supplements around the world. But that's not all there is to a healthy lifestyle. That's part of it. That's the nutritional aspect of it. Also, USANA, being part of the USANA organization, contributes a lot in the area of emotional. We're very much a family. The associates, the people at corporate headquarters. When you go to our events, it's like a huge family reunion. It's really fantastic. And then also, we provide financial incentives that help people with their finances, which is a very important part of their life. But this particular presentation tonight is going to focus mainly on physical and nutritional. The other elements are things that, we'll get into gradually, but you have to tackle these things one at a time. So healthy lifestyle. What are some of the things that are part of healthy lifestyle? Well, things like, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, getting the right foods, exercising, and alleviating stress or preventing it from building up in your body, at least to a toxic level. These days, you can't avoid stress. I mean, it's one of those things that's in your face all the time, no matter where you turn. It's all over the place. But it's not avoiding stress so much. It's being able to deal with it. Things like meditation, using exercise. People that have good nutrition tend to deal with stress better. Their cortisol levels are lower because they've got good nutrition. People that get good sleep tend to have less stress because, again, the cortisol levels are much lower. So all this stuff ties together. Healthy weight is something that's very important. I'm going to refer to that quite a bit. But healthy weight is really, it's thermodynamics in the scientific sense. It's called thermodynamics, where the inputs have to equal the outputs. So the food that you're taking in, if you're a very active person, you can take in a lot more food and not gain weight. But if you're fairly sedentary, if you've got an office job and you're not very active, then you probably should be controlling your intake of nutrition and calories. Otherwise, what will happen is over time it accumulates. And I've got a very personal story about that I'll share with you a little bit later. So how many people out there in the audience, we've got probably over 1,000 people now and on the line. How many people out there have been on a diet? And this is really shocking when you look at this, because an average 45-year-old person has already been on 61 diets, and that's average. So there's people that have been on twice as much, and probably a few people that have only been on 30 diets in their lives. But this is something that's a fad thing that's kind of gone through, it's gone through many generations, where there's been diet books around for almost 100 years, over 100 years. And diet is something that, maintaining a healthy weight is something that's very important. But these fad kind of diets where people, they basically restrict their intake and they eat healthy for a short period of time, and then they fall off the wagon. They put all that weight back on plus more, and then they look for the next diet to go on to. And that's that yo-yo effect that's so bad for health. So what I'm gonna propose to you, and I'm gonna try and teach you, is how to just commit to a healthy lifestyle for the long term. So rather than thinking about temporary changes to the things that you eat and drink as being the definition of diet, think of it this way. The food that we eat every day is our diet. So just over time, you improve it. You don't have to drastically overnight change everything that you're eating, because that's actually detrimental. It throws off your body. It throws off your metabolism. It may throw off your nutrition as well. So that's probably not actually a safe thing to do. But what I'm talking about is making perpetual changes and being realistic in the time frame that's going to take for diet and exercise to show visible results. And I'll show you that. I'll share that with you in my story a little bit later. So some of the things that I recommend to everybody, because I get lots of questions. I get people that don't know anything about nutrition, and I get really smart people. There's a lot of really smart people in USANA associates that when I go to events, they're asking me highly, highly technical questions that are, like 1 in a million type of questions. And I appreciate that. I love answering those kind of questions. But for right now, I'm not going to go into that kind of detail. I'd rather talk about the larger overall picture. We need to make sure we're getting enough fruits and vegetables for phytonutrients in our diet. And USANA actually puts phytonutrients into our dietary supplements. So when we talk about our essentials, we actually use very standardized, purified phytonutrients to elicit specific effects in your body. But that doesn't mean you don't ever have to eat a fruit or vegetable again in your life. Okay, there's a lot of things in fruits and vegetables that are good for you. Particularly, it's summertime right now in North America. I love it. I mean, it's so beautiful up here. You see the picture behind me. That's the lake that I go fishing on every evening after work. So my son and I, after quitting time, usually around sunset, we'll go and drown a few worms and hopefully catch a few fish. But summertime is beautiful because there's an abundance of fruits and vegetables, fresh, and we should take advantage of that. There's a farmer's market around here that I always go to, and we make sure we stock up and eat as much as we possibly can during the summertime because it's not really available that kind of fresh year round. Make sure you're getting enough fiber and the nutrients, the fats and protein in your diet. USANA has a great fiber supplement called Fibergy. And it's really simple. I mean, most people, well, you can look at the government data, the government NHANES data, and most people in this country don't get anywhere near the amount of fiber that they should for real adequate health, for not only for your GI tract, but just for overall health. So that's something, that's supplementation. So all these things, lifestyle, and then reducing your exposure to chemicals. This is really important. Change out those cleaners in your house. Everybody has to, during this whole pandemic thing, cleaners are in short supply. They're selling out of the stores faster than the companies can make them, which I understand that. But at the same time, these things are, in a lot of cases, they're fairly toxic. So you don't want to be just like, spraying your whole house down. You want to use these things judiciously. Alcohol, we're not talking about like hand sanitizer. That's fine. That doesn't go into your body, or that's not really going to affect you. But during this time, alcohol sales have actually gone way up too during this pandemic. And a lot of people they're trapped inside, they're lonely and they're bored. And that's kind of a natural thing to do. But that's something that try and reduce that. And then also these foods that people are eating nowadays, because people hoard it up on canned food, all sorts of canned produce and that kind of stuff, which is, it's good because it's shelf stable, but it's also really super high in sodium. So I did the same thing because I didn't know how bad this was going to get. So I actually had stored up, about a month's worth of like canned food, but it's still sitting in my pantry. And, if summer comes and we get through this whole thing, I'll donate that to the food bank. I'll only eat it in an emergency, but, I understand people stocking up on it, but please don't eat too much of that stuff because it's actually long-term. It's not very healthy for you. So one area that we can really help a lot is in nutritional health. This is USANA's specialty. So take a look at this list. I mean, these are the major causes these are factors that contribute to early death. And there's a lot of stuff on here, and you should probably go down that list. And if you're guilty of any of these things, which we all to some extent are, try and eliminate that from your life. Particularly, the really bad ones are smoking. If you have high blood pressure, you need to keep that under control. Obesity, which again is something that's personal accountability in a lot of cases. Sometimes it's metabolic, and I totally understand that, and in that case, it will need some sort of nutritional or even some sort of medical intervention, but still it can't be ignored. It's not something that somebody can just walk away from and pretend it's not happening. That would be a really bad situation. So these are things that we can all affect. A lot of these are dietary factors. Sodium, omega-3s, you have to have omega-3s. Fortunately, USANA produces a fantastic omega-3. Luckily, trans fats are almost out of the human food chain in North America because they've been banned. If people realize how poisonous that stuff was that we were eating for almost 100 years, that was really contributing to heart disease. But luckily, most states, and I believe there's also a federal ban on trans acids. Alcohol is a weird one because there's actually a certain subset of people that a glass or two of wine a day actually increases their lifespan rather than decreases it. But then you've also got the other half of people that it will actually decrease their lifespan. So a lot of it has to do with genetics. A lot has to do with metabolism, your activity levels. Again, I would just, out of an abundance of caution, keep that to a minimum. So anyway, so there's a lot of stuff that we can do to take account for ourselves and be accountable for our health. This is a big thing that I'll tell you, this was a problem for me, and I'll get to that later. But you know, I have boys. I have three boys, three sons, and they're teenagers now, going into college. Two of them are in college. And you know, I was never a fast food guy when I was growing up. It just never really appealed to me. And my parents came from very working class and stuff, and my dad didn't like to spend money on getting fast food or things like that. So we would get it maybe once or twice a year. But nowadays, there's a lot of kids out there that this is their, well, there's been data recently that this burger and fries and a Coke is considered to be the most common American meal. And that's probably true, which is really a sad commentary. But if you look, the nutrition on it is almost nothing compared to all the calories that you're taking in. So this is really a bad health choice. Now, every now and then, it's something that I'm not gonna harp on people, because I will admit I've had a hamburger every now and then. Okay, I do, because I enjoy going out with the boys and I like having one every now and then. But you got to keep these things in limitation and moderation. This is something that's really shocking to me. When I first saw it, and it shocks me every time I see it, is how in the United States, how for as wealthy of a country and as much food as we have, how many people are walking around every day with nutritional deficiencies and major vitamins and minerals too. So this is not just like trace things that, you know, you can kind of get away with. And this data comes directly from the NHANES study, which is the National Institutes of Health study from the United States. So this data is not industry data. This is government data. So the government's basically admitting that 97% of women are deficient in vitamin E, 88% are deficient in calcium, you know, 67% are deficient in magnesium. You can read the list. But there's some important nutrients there. And particularly in this day and age, you know, when people are really paying attention to immune system health, there's three on here that really come out at me as being super important. Most of the population is deficient in vitamin D, and that's turning out to be a huge factor for being able to fight off viruses. So that's a big thing. Vitamin A, it's been known forever that vitamin A is a major immune system modulator. Zinc is an antiviral, a very important antiviral ingredient. You see the levels of deficiency are, for things like vitamin A, are over half the population. Vitamin D is well over half the population. And then vitamin E, you know, when you're talking about fighting off any kind of infection, a cold, a flu, a scrape that you get on your skin, or whatever it is, an injury of some kind, vitamin E is very important in what's called preventing an overreaction of your immune system, which is very dangerous. Sometimes your immune system can overreact and it goes out of control, and that can actually cause worse problems than you know, not having an immune system. And vitamin E is very important because that's very important for controlling the reaction of the immune system. So when your macrophages are a spot of virus and they want to kill it, they shoot hydrogen peroxide at it. So there's a chemical called hydrogen peroxide in your blood cells that they shoot at this thing. Well, hydrogen peroxide is super toxic to your cells, and it will kill all your cells as well if you don't have antioxidants like vitamin E in abundance in your body. So these kind of deficiencies this is not just like trivial matter. This is important stuff. And you're going to see over the next few years that people are going to start paying a lot more attention to this. I mean, these numbers are not acceptable. And if it's these numbers here, it's probably similar numbers in Canada, probably very similar numbers in Mexico, Philippines, pretty much every country, I would imagine, nobody's going to be excelling in these numbers. And this is something that USANA is able to help supplement with people on a daily basis for a very reasonable price. So this data, this slide here came from the Council of Responsible Nutrition, which is the major trade industry organization for the nutritional industry. I used to chair the scientific committee for CRN several years ago. I was the chairman for 4 years for that project. And we did a lot of research, not to promote any one company in general, but just to promote the nutritional industry. And here we're taking data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We're showing that vitamin supplementation can actually reduce the risk. So for example, if you look at coronary heart disease over on the left side, there's quite a few nutrients like B vitamins, phytosterols, omega-3s, dietary fiber that have been shown to have a beneficial effect. If you look down one row on there, you can see that 16% of the population will eventually be affected by CHD. And if you look, nutritional intervention can reduce the effects of that anywhere from 3.3% to 11.5%, which that's pretty dramatic. So nutrition can play a big role in these big problems. And that's exactly what Dr. Wentz intended. And that's what USANA is out there to do. You look at things like age-related macular degeneration. We have a great product called Vision XDS. Love that product. I love it, take it every single day. But see, I know it's more than just an eye health product, okay? It was designed for eye health, and it works great to do that. My eyes are fantastic, better than they've been in years. But it's also great for your skin. It's great for your cognitive functioning. Zeaxanthin and lutein have been shown to really help preserve cognitive functioning. So these are things where simple nutritional interventions can have a huge effect on quality of life, WellSpan, and lifespan. So Intelligence, I'm so proud of this product. This is such a great product. This is on top of this is the top of the line. This is the flagship nutritional for USANA Health Sciences. So this is what we call our Essentials line. But this goes even beyond. Essentials was the best product for 20 years. And then this one surpassed it because it's got an additional facet of technology that the cell signaling components that make it work even better. But anyway, this one was just granted a United States patent just, I believe, the month before. So back in May, it was granted a United States patent after about 6 years of being in process. And that's really amazing, first of all, because patents usually take a lot longer than that. They usually take 10, 12, sometimes up to 20 years to get a patent issued. But then also the fact that we were able to get the claims and we were able to get the cell signaling claims around this, it makes USANA very unique. Well, it makes us unique because we're the only ones that can ever have this cell signaling technology. The way that it works is it helps unlock codes within your body. So it's kind of like my son's a gamer. My youngest son is quite the avid gamer, and he's all into these like codes and like all these people he competes against. He knows whether they're using cheat codes or whatever it is. But basically hacking and codes and stuff like that, that's exactly what we're doing. Is we figured out how to do biohacking on a large scale. So that's really what I would say about Cell Essentials that makes it unique, is we've come up with a very safe and effective way to biohack the communication systems within your body and trigger renewal processes that should be working in everybody. But like I said, when you walk through the mall and you see 80-year-olds that look 20 and you see 20-year-olds that look 80, in those people, something is different, something very different. And a lot of that is the cell signaling pathways, and we figured out ways of hacking that. These are the compounds that we currently have patented for biohacking. Things like alpha-lipoic acid, curcumin, green tea extract, quercetin, rutin, hesperidin. Those last three, quercetin, rutin, and hesperidin, are things called flavonoids, which are very safe and very, very effective natural compounds. They come from all sorts of plants and vegetables. So if we lived in the Garden of Eden and we were all eating everything that we were supposed to be eating every single day, fresh off the tree, we probably wouldn't have to be supplementing with these things. But let's face it, we're not in the Garden of Eden. We got kicked out a while back. And so anyway, so we're relying on nutrition and scientists to kind of help us make up the gap between the two. So anyway, so these are some of the compounds that we're using currently commercially around the world, but we also have many, many other cell signaling compounds that we're working on constantly in R&D, and you'll be seeing those introduced in new intelligence products that'll be coming out this year and in years to come. So this whole thing about nourish, protect, renew, I love this. You know, nourish and protect is something that USANA has always done. Nourish is what USANA was based on. Dr. Wentz was not satisfied with the vitamins and mineral supplements that were available back in his day when he started USANA. He was determined to create something better. So he focused on the best, most bioavailable vitamins and minerals that your body needs. And then he got really wrapped up in antioxidants and antioxidant protection. And he was one of the first top scientists. You know, it was very controversial at the time. You know, are antioxidants good? Are they bad? They might be poisonous. They might be toxic. We don't know. But the research has borne out his what he saw in the laboratory, that antioxidants can protect your cells in ways that other things possibly can't. And then I love this new thing that we're into right now with this intelligence, which is renew. It's triggering these processes within your body to renew themselves. So for example, the mitochondria, the powerhouses, these little generating plants within every cell in your body, they create the energy that's keeping the lights on. And like I'm able to talk and see and think because of these mitochondria producing energy within my body. But the thing is, these things burn up. They get old, just like an old power plant. You know, they get polluted, and what happens is your body's supposed to basically kill them off and recycle them and rebuild new ones all the time. But oftentimes, if you don't have proper nutrition or there's an impairment of your cell signaling pathways, this doesn't occur. So that's where intelligence technology kind of gives it a kickstart. Using those flavonoids, using those phenolic compounds, we're able to basically biohack the cell into renewing itself. Even if it doesn't feel like doing it, if it doesn't want to, we make it do it. And this is really a huge revolution in human nutrition. Just like antioxidants were, and just like vitamin and minerals were decades before, this is the newest thing, and USANA's got patents around this technology. So after that, okay, so these are all the benefits that you get from Cell Essentials. So we've talked about personal accountability. You know, we talked about eating the right things, avoiding the wrong things, and then using supplementation to make sure that you're filling in all the gaps. Very cost-effective way of filling in the gaps in your diet between what you should be eating and what you actually are eating. And I'm not one to judge you. It's not my place to judge you. It's not anybody's place to judge you. You judge yourself. That's what accountability is all about, is holding yourself accountable to whatever standard it is you set for yourself. It may be high, it may be low, but try and shoot for the highest standard that you possibly can. And so in the next few minutes remaining, what I'd like to do is share with you a personal story that's very important to me, that I think emphasizes this personal accountability standpoint. So that was me several years ago. So I've been a corporate executive for a lot of years. 20 years I've been a corporate executive. I've been a chief scientific officer for most of that time. But then I worked my way up to being CEO of a NASDAQ company, and did that for about 6 years. Health companies, all the companies I've worked for have been health companies. So I look pretty happy in this picture. You know, we're going to some sort of corporate meeting. I forget exactly. I think this was Seattle. I can't remember. But we're going to a meeting. I did these all the time, you know, so it was a great lifestyle. The pay was great. You know, I traveled around the world, met powerful people, you know, lots of friends, lots of food. We're always having entertainment and things like that. But here's the secret is for being a health, and I was a really good CEO. I was probably one of the top in the country at the time. But the thing is, I was unhappy. I didn't really like doing it. I love being a chief scientific officer, but being a CEO is very stressful. And also you're being held accountable for all aspects of a global company that you may not know anything about. So it's very stressful, very, very stressful position. So I'm I looked really happy and healthy, and I always portrayed that image. But this isn't actually me. But believe me, when I looked in the mirror, I looked similar. All of a sudden, I realized I was looking way a lot like my dad, and I was not healthy. So when you take off the expensive suits and everything like that, and you look at yourself in the mirror, I was thinking to myself, for being a health company CEO, man, I sure don't look the part. I'm looking, and I've always been a healthy guy, but I was starting to look really, really terrible. And not only that, but I was ending up in the hospital quite a bit. I ended up in there for exhaustion on several occasions. I was hospitalized for a couple weeks for exhaustion from after traveling extensively. I'd be in the hospital for all sorts of issues, and it was just really not a very healthy situation. And I had a lot to live for. So, this is my family, this is my boys, these are my three sons. And so I had a lot to live for. And I really didn't want to have to go early. So I realized I needed to make a change in my life. I needed to make some sort of change. So I did the unthinkable thing, and I actually just walked away from being a CEO. Like I talked to some friends I trusted about it, and they said people don't do that. You can't just walk away. They've got you golden handcuffed. So you're kind of stuck. Doing this for a long time. But like I said, the accountability for my family uh, outweighed that. So anyway, so I walked away from it. Uh, just literally walked away. Said, I'm done. I've done a great job. I've done my work here. It's time to move on. Called my friend Dave Wentz at USANA, who he and I have been buddies for a couple decades. And I said, I'm ready to get back to the science of the whole thing, because that's my passion is doing cutting edge innovative science. And so he said, okay, well, come and join us. I've been asking you for a while, come up here and join us at USANA. And I said, well, I will, but I've got a 1-year non-compete that I can't, at this point, I can't do that right at this moment. So just give me a year and I'll be right up, I'll be right there. So this 1 year I had to myself, I committed to really changing my whole life, going from that fat CEO. So this was at the end of the year. So I literally biohacked myself as an experiment using USANA products, making sure I trained every single day. So I did cycling, rowing, and weight training and spin class pretty much every single day, not all in one day. It was, I'd alternate, but I didn't miss a single day, and I held myself accountable for changing. So then I joined USANA, and this was my first week at USANA. To start your video. What? Oh, so yeah, this was my first week at USANA, and my first day at USANA was actually at the international convention. So I got to launch Cellsentials with Tim Wood and Dr. Wentz on my very first day at USANA. So it's a good thing I knew these guys in advance. I knew them really well. So I didn't feel like I was walking into a new place. And then at the end of convention week, So this was filmed. Convention ran on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This was filmed on Monday in New York. So literally that weekend, I was on a private jet with Dr. Wentz, Dr. Oz, and myself, flying to New York to do the Dr. Oz show. So this was literally in my first week at USANA. So the great thing is, like, the transformation, the change, the personal accountability, it all pays off. You can walk away. You can walk away from an unhealthy lifestyle. You can, it's never too late to change. There's always reasons that will try and prevent you from changing. But that's where personal accountability is. If it really means that much to you, and in my case, it did. It meant a lot, my family and my own health. I didn't want to be a 50-year-old dead guy. All the money in the world is not worth that. So joining USANA and getting back to the science is really what my passion was all. The great thing is, wellness, and they appreciate that, and that's passion to promote wellness in the world. So nowadays, my passion is to just stay active all the time, year round. So this was last year with me and my brother. Uh, he was visiting Park City. We're mountain biking down from the top of Deer Valley Resort, heading down the mountain. It was a beautiful, hot day. It was like 97 degrees. It was like we were sweating like animals, but it was so much fun. And this is the kind of stuff that, if you want to hold yourself accountable, you have to do these kind of things. So this is really what I consider kind of like this was my milestone. This was what I was aiming for. This was my first photo shoot, bodybuilding photo shoot at 54 years old, at the USANA gym. So it's something that I've always been passionate about my whole life, but I never really pursued it. Never really, always, I was always in health companies, but never really pursued my passion until I came to USANA. And USANA just made all of my dreams come true. So now it's not just a fad. It's something that's a lifestyle forever. So every morning I wake up, first thing I do is go to the gym or do something. So I either go mountain biking, I go to the gym, rowing machine, something. Even when I travel. So when I used to travel around the world, and I didn't exercise at all when I traveled. And now the first thing that I do, this was taken in Macau when we were there for the China National Convention. I had just gotten there at 2 o'clock in the morning the night before. This was taken at 6 o'clock in the morning. So literally I slept for 4 hours. And the first thing I want to do when I wake up is go down to the gym and work out. And I'll tell you, that's the best thing for jet lag. Like, it totally, I used to have issues with jet lag, but I jumped into the gym, I throw on my workout clothes, I head down to the gym. I guarantee most gyms at hotels are empty, like nobody uses them. And they're usually pretty great nowadays. So I always make sure that I stay at some place that has a great fitness center. And I always make sure that I use it every single day. So this is my family. And I'm proud of is reward yourselves. Okay, this is something that's personal to me. Okay, is I've always been a gym guy. I don't know why. I just do. It's the scientist in me, I think. But I always reward myself. So every year that I'm successful in staying healthy, I buy a new ring. And anyway, so these are just some ideas to kind of help you with your own wellness journey. That's it.
Wow. Wow. Uh, Dr. Rob, I just have to say, I am always blown away by the information that you share, but your story and your commitment to health. You're a living testament of it. And I have a thread going with my team, and I was thinking, I need to get off this call and go exercise. He's motivated. We're so impressed, and we're so grateful for you sharing that. And as a father and a husband, I completely understand where you're coming from, and thank you for being an example